Good morning, America. I'm Charles Freeman reporting live from the Channel 8 news station. Today, the news team and I will be conducting a decade in review as we look over all the top stories from the 90s as it is coming to an end tomorrow. Starting with my segment of unemployment, the United States has been facing unemployment issues since the 1930s. The day known as Black Thursday, where many U.S. citizens saw a decline of available jobs within the country due to the Wall Street crash. Since then, America has been hit hard with unemployment affecting people's lives. It has become an issue that has proven very difficult for politicians to solve and a dire situation that American citizens have to unfortunately cope with. As of now, it seems we have fared worse due to the recession that occurred earlier in the decade, causing the unemployment rate to rise significantly. In 1992, unemployment was at its highest, surpassing the rate at an astounding 7.2. We never saw such numbers in 1990 or 1991. Even after 92, the numbers suddenly declined, lowering the following year to 4.2 in 1993. The cause of such an increase can be talked of for debate. However, many speculate that the change in immigration laws and the riots that took place in Los Angeles may have contributed to the rise of unemployment. For that year specifically, and it is highly possible that both events caused many to be put out of work, as U.S. citizens were competing against immigrants for jobs despite already having a citizenship. While the riots of 1992 caused major destruction of homes, streets, and local businesses, unemployment causes many problems for the economy as a whole. Recent studies have shown that many Hispanic and African American neighborhoods are the prime targets of unemployment. Many young teens turn to gang violence and drugs, seeing it as a way to ease the pain, a way to have a family, a home. Unemployment has indeed been an issue for many people despite genders all around the country. It is also fortunate that a majority of women were able to get jobs, as in decades prior, women were only allowed to be housewives. Many new opportunities have opened up for women. Jobs such as nurses, secretaries, teachers, principals have opened up. The economy has evolved greatly, and although we are still suffering from unemployment, it is a good thing that we have overcome many of the issues that prevented many from working. As of 1999, unemployment has been at a steady rate. After recovering from the increase 8 years ago, the United States has been improving a bit, with numbers being at a steady rate of 4.2. Will unemployment be an issue in the country's future, or will this nation see unemployment vanquished? We now have Michael Cherko with the fads of the 90s.
Thank you,
Michael?
Charles. Yes, people, it is that time of year that everyone has been waiting for. It's time for the year 2000. But before we can indulge in the great new millennium, let's take a look back at some of the great trends that this decade had to offer. One of the most pocketed toys in America was the Tamagotchi. The Tamagotchi was a keyring device that allowed school children to take care of their own virtual pets, to clean up after them, bathe them, and feed them, as well as let them exercise, run around. It hit its height in the UK around 1970, but then it found its way over here to the great US of A. If you're a parent, you know how kids can be with what's the new thing everyone's wearing. Well, in this decade was the good old popper trousers. What made these trousers so famous was the buttons that ran along the side, and it was very humorous because the way to take them off was just to pull them right off. Slap bracelets. Slap bracelets were basically flat, flexible, stainless steel layers covered by fabric or steel. The way these things worked was you would slap them onto someone else and it would fit perfectly onto their forearm. Unfortunately, this accessory was frowned upon by teachers because of the obnoxious noises it made and the pain it causes to other students. And finally, America's greatest gum, Hubba Bubba. Now, this gum took incredibly long to chew, but it had some pretty good flavor. From Cool Cola to Atomic Apple, the flavors packed a punch and could be delivered to the mouth in regular pieces or via desirable bubble tape, which became famous much later. This gum was the bomb. Well, that's all I have for the amazing trends that this decade had to offer.
So the 90s was full of amazing sports stories and some troubled stories. We witnessed greatness when we saw Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls win 6 championships in a matter of 8 years. Also included a 72-10 record during that season, recorded by the 1995 Chicago Bulls team, arguably the best NBA team at the time. There's no doubt that the Bulls were a dynasty in the 90s, but another dominant team was beginning to form in the summer of 1992. They called themselves the Dream Team, consisting of great players like Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Patrick Ewing, and other stars from the NBA, playing for the country's men's basketball team in the 1992 Olympics. And the NFL was another dynasty team that dominated the sport in the early 90s. The Dallas Cowboys, America's favorite team, won 3 Super Bowls with players like Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman, and head coach Jimmy Johnson. And the MLB was yet another dynasty team. The New York Yankees won 3 World Series titles in the final years of the 90s. With all great sports stories like this and teams prospering in the 90s, there was bound to be tragic sports stories and events to occur. In 1994, O.J. Simpson, former NFL football player, was being tried for murdering his ex-wife, Nicole Brown, and her boyfriend, Ronald Baldwin. That same year, Nancy Kerrigan, pro women's figure skater, was attacked while practicing for the U.S. Figure Skating Championship in Detroit. The attack was planned by Nancy Kerrigan's rival, Tanya Harding, and her ex-husband, Jeff Gulugi. This incident became known as the Whack Heard around the world. Once again in 1994, the MLB season was halted to a screeching stop when players wanted more money. The lockout lasted 232 days and was the most embarrassing moment in MLB history. Yikes. The bright side of 1994 was that the United States held the FIFA World Cup, which was won by Brazil that year. With all sports buzz going around in the 90s, new sports were beginning to rise. The X Games grew extremely popular when pro skater Tony Hawk executed a 900, which was the first time that move was landed in skateboarding history. Another sport grew extremely popular. In the 1990s, WWF, World Wrestling Federation, took flight when it brought entertainment wrestling to people's televisions. All in all, the 90s was great for the years of sports. All in all, the 90s was a great year for sports. After the break, we got film, music, and events that occurred in the decade.
In a world of their own, 3 companions on a mission with only one thing in common: their name.
Seen it! Didn't see that.
What can people understand? I gotta show the attention span.
Kinda reminds me of the day my brother told me cartoons weren't real.
Whatever. The brand new series of Ed, Edd and Eddy starts 30th of October on Cartoon Network.
Good afternoon, my name is Xavier Gonzalez, reporting today about the new era of music that occurred in the 90s. We have a lot of good artists, albums, and bands who created many genres of music such as rock, pop, hip-hop, and R&B. Some of the songs that the artists produced were the #1 hits in this decade, such as Janet Jackson's Escapade on March 3rd, 1990, which was #1 for 3 hits. Madonna Vogue on May 19, 1990 for 3 weeks. Bone Thugs and Harmony Crossroads on May 18, 1996 for 8 weeks. And Nirvana Smells Like Teen Spirit. Just to give you a little background about the R&B and the urban pop, were popular throughout the 90s because of a man named Michael Jackson, whose commercial success for his album Dangerous sold 30 biggest selling music genre in the mid-1990s because of artists like Dr. Dre and Notorious B.I.G. dominated the hip-hop genre.
Hello viewers and welcome back. Now let's focus on the famous movies from the past 9 years. Yes, we know some of you might have your favorite movies in this decade, but there are more than just favorites. Some of you might not know these movies, but there were 34,001 titles released in the past 9 years. Obviously, you might not have seen all of the movies, but we are going to tell you the top 5 based on their income from the box office. At number 1 with the highest box office of them all is Titanic. Titanic was released in '97 and brought in an income of $659 million. Second goes to Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, released in '99 with $475 million. Third was The Lion King, coming in with $423 million in '94. Fourth is Jurassic Park with $402 million in '93. The last one coming in 5th place in '93 was Forrest Gump with $330 million. These 5 movies alone generated $2,289 million. Now that's a lot of money. Now the first movie to be released in the '90s was On the Block. This film was directed by Steve Yeager, and this film tells the story of an ex-junkie who wants to be a real dancer and her experiences as a stripper on Baltimore's notorious red light district known as the Block. In the '90s was supposedly the best decade for the movies as well. We took a survey on your top 20 sports movies, and in the end, the number 1 movie from the '90s was Space Jam. Space Jam was released in '96. I can understand why most of you chose Space Jam, considering it stars the famous Looney Tunes and the incredible Michael Jordan. One of the runner-ups was Rudy, which was based on the story in the College of Notre Dame. In 1990, the Hubble Space Telescope launched during Space Shuttle Discovery mission. The same year, Iraq invades Kuwait, which started the Gulf War. The Gulf War was waged in the Middle East by a UN unauthorized coalition force for 34 nations, led by the US and the United Kingdom against Iraq. Following year, Supreme Court candidate Clarence Thomas and former aide Anita Hill were interviewed by the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee. We just received word that there was a shooting in Columbine High School in Colorado. We wish for the safety and the students of the faculty, and we would like to take a moment of silence for those who have been killed by the massacres. We will bring more facts for you later on in our afternoon edition of Channel 8 News. Stay safe, America.